What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Clearly Distorted Podcast, the podcast where we discuss our clearly thought out ideas shared through our distorted lenses. I am Damien, the shower god, aka, I thought you was gonna say it, Boogie Down, aka the Devil's Advocate, and he is Julian, aka the Prolific Hater, the one and only.
I got a new nickname.
Down Bronx today. What is
Repping the Bronx, Boogie Down Bronx, and there's a reason for that.
There's a reason for that. We're gonna get to that.
I want to. You can keep calling me the Prolific Hater,
That's
but
not
I also
going anywhere.
right. But I also want another nickname on top of that.
Okay. What you got?
From now on, I am the cock of the walk.
Nah, that's not happening, bro.
Yes, bro. The cock of the walk.
I don't even know what that means, but I will never say that.
Why wouldn't you say that? I'm the cock of the walk.
No, it's not happening.
Dame, stop, bro.
Stop.
Try it out. Try it out.
Not happening.
You're supposed. This is part of your job. We split these things. If I say I want to be called the cock of the walk. Mm-hmm. Respect that, bro.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to have somebody else call you that, not me. That ain't happening.
Why?
It's not happening. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean?
It's sort of like the man, sort of, kind of like the cock of the walk, bro.
Of the wall or walk? What are you saying?
What? You broke up for me.
Wall or walk?
Walk. Cock of the walk.
Sorry, bro. You're gonna have to go back to the drawing board. or when you edit it, you could just put it right there. You just put it right there.
So cock of the walk phrase means someone who dominates others in a group. I'm the cock of the walk, bro.
Yeah, I've never ever heard that phrase in my life.
Really?
Ever. Never. Nor will I ever say it in relations to you.
Why is that?
Or I should say in relation to any man. I'm never addressing another man like that.
Bro, you're not calling me like your sweetheart, man. You're saying that's Julian, aka the Prolific Hater.
Yes.
Aka the cock of the walk.
No.
Cock of the walk. I want like echoes and shit.
Now you're gonna have to add that in the post-production edits.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will figure this out. Tune in next week.
Sure. Shit, I wasn't ready for that one. Oh man. So yeah. Obviously it's just the two of us again.
Yeah.
Still missing our homegirl Patricia, but she'll be back soon.
Show must go on, but see you soon, Patricia.
Yeah. So what's going on with you, man? Anything new? Exciting?
No, man, not really. Looking forward to some breaking the news. There's been some crazy stuff happening. 2023 has been already kind of crazy, but looking forward to the All-Star game coming soon, and NBA, and but nothing much. A couple of video games I'm kind of hyped for, and yeah, man, that's about it.
Ditto. I'll throw the Super Bowl in there as well. I know you don't watch football,
right?
But that's dope. Same old over here.
Man? Yeah.
Nothing new and exciting. Well, we bought a little new fancy piece of equipment in our business that it's helping us save some time and do our job a lot better. So that's a little exciting. It's expensive as fuck, but it'll pay off in the long run. So we've had a new toy we've been playing with. So
what, like a waterbed or like
a waterbed?
Yeah,
I said for my business, bro.
Oh, I'm thinking of the other business you're into. I'm sorry. The webcam biz. I'm sorry. Daym on that waterbed. I'm the shower god, baby.
Yo, I got an ill idea for a graphic. You just wait. I got a picture coming, and I'm gonna figure out how to make it into the shower guy is coming with a logo, son. It's coming. It's coming.
I'm almost scared to see that shit, but
It's hilarious. The idea that I have, at least I tend to find out that the shit that I think is the most funniest thing, like most people just don't get it.
Everybody's like
90% of the time, I'm like in tears. People like, oh, that's cool.
no. It's
then
just
everybody else is like hysterical laughing, and I'm like, that shit was stupid.
Last week you dropped like Sky Daddy or something like that, and I laughed because you were laughing, but I was just like, where the fuck that come from?
That is one of the funniest things I ever heard. Sky Daddy?
Shower God, Sky Daddy, yeah.
Sky Daddy is hilarious. Cut it out.
Well, let's get to it. Let's get to it, Daym. We got a lot of shit to cover. We can't get into that again.
Laughter's good for the soul, man.
Yes, it is.
Well, I don't think we're gonna stop now. Did you see this thing with the baby that was born holding his mother's IUD in his fist?
Yes, I actually did, Damien.
So what'd you think?
So first of all, please explain to our audience what that is, for those who don't know.
IUD is a birth control measure. It's plastic and it has like a copper tip at the end, which gets inserted into the uterus, and it stimulates. This is getting way too technical here. Didn't know I was gonna do this. Anyway, it prevents you from getting pregnant.
It kind of looks like to me like a grapple hook, like the way it's like shaped, or like an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can picture like a baby like holding it with like a rope and swinging it and catching the coochie and just pulling themselves up. Like,
that's kind of funny.
So anyway, so what happened allegedly what happened in the story?
Well, yeah. So initially I'm looking at it, and this is like the funniest thing in the world. This baby comes out with like, aha, you thought you were gonna stop me. But then I started thinking, like, could this possibly happen?
So like, what you're saying is the female inserts that as a birth control.
Yes.
And somehow in this story, it got lost up in there. And when she got pregnant, even with it there, and then must have forgot about it, gives birth to the baby, and the baby comes out holding it. Is that what the story is suggesting?
There's not
like the baby came out with like a party gift.
From based on my own personal experience, forgetting about it is not something that happens. You go to a doctor, they put it in, it's good for a certain period of time. You have appointments.
According to this story, Damien, that had to have been it, right?
Oh, well, so you know me, I did some research because in my mind, you get pregnant. You get pregnant, and the first thing that has to happen is the doctor says, all right, we got to get this IUD out of you.
Damn, you're not supposed to do research on stories like this. Do you know what your fucking search feed must look like? You must look like a sicko. Anyway, go ahead. What was your search on that? What did you search to do this research? Never mind. So to finish saying what you were saying.
So according to WebMD, the doctor
he went deep with that shit. WebMD. Okay, go ahead.
A doctor would attempt to remove it. That would be a normal practice. Because it can cause problems. So if you get pregnant and leave the IUD in, it could cause miscarriages, could lose the pregnancy for a number of reasons. You have a higher chance of earlier birth, and you can get all kind of infections. Like, it can go bad leaving this thing in. Sometimes they just can't get it out. Sometimes the uterus gets too big, and it's just too much of an issue medically to remove it. So we roll the dice and we see what happens, and then they remove it after the pregnancy, after birth. So
The baby said,
though it's extremely
fuck
rare,
that.
apparently this is possible.
Wow. So I think the baby has already
Beating all
immediately
kind
has
of odds.
not only that, but it's it's kind of paid its own way initially. No extra procedural necessary for her because the
They don't have
baby
to go
said,
back in again. He's like,
baby
I
said, I
got you,
got you.
mom.
I got it.
That is hilarious, bro.
That
Yeah,
is
this was one of the funniest things I had ever seen. And it could be true. So it probably is true. Who knows?
well, that is a fucked up story, but yeah, it's great. Fucked up in a good way, like, but it's pretty fucked up.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're making plans to prevent pregnancy, and
So I got a question for you, Dame.
yeah,
Knowing the way you are, I'm curious.
knowing the way I am
You're
about,
you're a particular man. So if
I don't
you were
know
born
where are we
holding
going.
this fucking thing, if that was your mom, right? Right?
Okay, tread
Would you
lightly,
talk
bro.
about it? Would you talk about that? Like, would you go to school when you're like 12 years old and be like, here's a picture of me as a newborn holding my mom's IUD? Would you do it?
Never.
Never. We
But
wouldn't even be talking about that if you did it now, right?
we, as me, as the baby, probably not. But that would be one of those stories that's talked about like every birthday, or this
In your
motherfucker.
family.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but see, I could imagine, and I don't know your parents, but um I would imagine that your family would find it amusing. I just don't think you would.
I probably, that's not something I would be.
Right.
Yeah.
See,
But when it happens to somebody else, it's fucking hysterical.
if it was me, I kid you not, that'd be like my profile picture on like my social media. I'd have a shirt with my ass holding it. That's it's like champ shit. It's like you can't stop my birth. Take this shit and throw it on the floor. Like that's how I would be.
Mm. Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Anyway,
Anyway,
fun story.
fun stories. So, hip hop celebrating 50 years.
Yeah.
And in doing so, we got a hip hop museum going up in the Boogie Down Bronx,
What's there?
like on
It's
your
there.
shirt.
Yep, right here, Boogie Down Bronx. So let me basically hip hop museum in the Bronx. It just received $5 million in federal funding. Now I know nowadays people have their own interpretation of hip hop and even money, and maybe that's not considered that much or whatever it is. But if you grew up in New York around that time, 70s, 80s, and in particular, if you lived in the Bronx, that time was different and you may view things differently. This is my story, so let me explain. So in the 70s, and out of a devastation that was happening in the 70s in the Bronx, gentrification, crime, homelessness, extreme poverty, and all the fires that were happening in the Bronx in particular, and all throughout New York, emerged what we know today as hip hop music. It's predominantly Black music, and Puerto Rican kids at the time got together in the Bronx and created a culture that has literally changed the history of the world. And we did this in times that we were basically left for dead. The world didn't care about us, didn't seem to care. And for me, growing up in that environment, growing up in the Bronx in those early days, everything was hip hop. When I think about it now, the views of the city, the sounds, the smells, I was born into this culture that the rest of the world at the time didn't even know existed. And as I grew, the music grew, And even though the world was still trying to ignore us in a lot of ways, we created something that the world just couldn't ignore anymore. And through all of it, 50 years later, hip hop is still here. And while there's a lot more work to be done to protect our culture, I never thought I'd be sitting here in front of a camera talking about hip hop, a hip hop museum in the Bronx receiving federal funding. That is such a great thing. And for that, I'm extremely, even though there's more work to be done and it's overdue, I'm extremely grateful to see this. Weird seeing KRS-One up there talking about it with Chuck Schumer.
Right.
Just it blows my mind. So Daym, you also a native New Yorker.
Yes.
Hip hop is in your blood. What do you think?
Well, just to add on to what you were saying, for those maybe not old enough, from the birth, it was every attempt made possible to shut it down. It was considered a fad. It was something that wasn't going to last.
Not music.
The industry didn't want to put money into it or pay any attention to it because they didn't think it would be around long enough. And then when it started bubbling, government went out of their way to shut it down in the 80s.
90s, 80s, 90s, yeah.
80s, 90s, because of the explicit content. And we overcame all of that, survived all of that, and now is the leading music genre in the entire world, and literally in the entire world. There's no corner of the world where you can't go to and experience hip hop.
They are spitting bars in every corner of the world and in every language.
Yeah.
I watch some of these videos. I don't know what the hell they're saying in these different countries, but I know that they're dropping some deep shit.
I think I just sent you one the other day, right?
Yeah.
Some Asian, because like I don't know what he was saying, but the shit sounded fire.
Yeah.
Like the body language and the expression, like you knew, and then the crowd reaction, you knew he was saying something crazy. I don't know what he was talking about.
Yeah, it's the music by the people and for the people for sure, and that's always been my love for it, and that's where I guess that's where my philosophy of hip hop comes from. It's just being part of that initial growth.
I remember like first time hearing it and just feeling like they're talking about like what I see outside. Like they're talking for me.
Right.
And I immediately fell in love with hip hop, and then I started trying to figure out how to make it, and then it's been on ever since. But
it's a weird thing for me because I don't remember like I don't have the moment of recognizing it because it was there, right?
For you, for me,
right?
Yeah, for me, it came a little later. I was probably 9 years old by the time I got exposed to hip hop. So,
and for you, that was what in the 80s, right?
Early 80s, yeah.
Right. So yeah. So for me, like it was more looking up to my cousins who are older than me, looking up to my sister who was older than me. So seeing them embrace it, and just being born into it, right? Even my parents and everything, listening to like disco type hip hop stuff, anywhere from Sugar Hill Gang to like a Curtis Blow or something. So, a lot of that stuff, but it was just always there. And then by the time Run DMC were emerging, that's all I wanted to be.
Word. Yeah.
So big shout out. I'm super proud this is happening, and I can't wait to see more of this kind of stuff for the culture. It's important that we remember the culture. We document the culture. It's historic now. And that goes for the pioneers. It's very important. If you love hip hop, learn your history.
Yeah. And I think just to tag on to that too, today, I think there is a gap in the understanding and the difference between rap and what hip hop is. So hip hop in the broad term is the lifestyle, the culture. It's all of the elements together. Rap is just one aspect of it. So a lot of people call themselves rappers and they're not really involved with hip hop as the
Right.
in the culture. So
Right.
culture gets lost a little bit today.
But you can't be a rapper without hip hop.
I agree.
So that's one important distinction that I always want to make, because even though there's a separation there, don't get it twisted. Rap music is because of hip hop. It's part of hip hop culture.
Right.
Even if you're not, even if you're, my thing is, if you're not embracing the culture, even if you're Black or Hispanic, that's cultural appropriation to a degree. If you're not totally understanding what the culture is, if you're not respecting the culture, if you're in it just for the paycheck, if you're in it just for the paycheck, you're not really.
You're a culture vulture.
Right. No matter what. So yeah.
That's a fact.
All right. So what we got next, Dame? Moving along.
Yeah, so we might have to tuck the smiles away for a little bit now.
Yeah.
The House GOP's vote to remove Ilhan Omar from the Foreign Affairs Committee. And we knew this was coming. It's been threats as payback for
Marjorie Taylor Greene being removed. Yeah.
And
that's not what it is. I know a lot of people are saying that. I heard Stephen A say it, that he thinks that this is well, it's a separate story, but he thinks that the stuff happening with DeSantis is a political move to get him to become president, right?
Oh, for sure.
Right. So a lot of people equating these things with just political moves, right? Political scheming and payback and all of this stuff, where my take on it is a little bit different, because if we look at the political end of it, sure, two things can be true. There's definitely political motivations here, but it somewhat softens the ugliness of what this is, and it's racist. It's, hey, let's do something racist to give our base some meat and give them something to cheer about, while simultaneously doing political moves that kind of positions us in an advantageous sort of way. Yeah. And it sucks, but Ilhan Omar didn't deserve that.
No, there was no valid reason for it other than she's a Black Muslim woman. That's what it comes down to.
I don't think it matters what the motivation is. The results are pretty significant, and you know how I feel about, we got these people.
I think the motivation. I think the motivation is important, because if we just stick to the result, then that kind of equates it to the Democrats removing Marjorie Taylor Greene.
But at the end of the day, the motivation, although somebody could argue that it's political only in the sense that it's creating excitement for a racist base.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, if you are a Republican and you're not up for this shit, you think that this is bullshit, this is a waste of everyone's time, this is, maybe you sort of agree with the sentiment, but maybe you think, you know what, this is going to turn Ilhan Omar into some sort of martyr, and this is going to eventually hurt us the next time there are some elections, and there could be some truth to that. Even if you're in that camp, my thought process to this whole thing is, you voted for these people, and they are acting on the things that maybe you didn't co-sign with, but they said, and Michael Steele was saying this earlier today, I sent you the clip, they said that they were going to do these things, just like Donald Trump. And Democrats, sometimes they say a lot of things that they're going to do and they don't end up doing. Republicans, when they make these threats, they mean it. And this is a prime example of that.
Yeah. I had read, you quoted one of them, but I had read that two two conservative Republicans had got up and left the floor and walked towards the elevator, and one said that this is like the dumbest vote he's ever seen, and the other one said they're going to make her a martyr.
Right.
And
I've heard a lot of that, but they still voted.
did they?
Every one of them voted. I think he had 3 people holding out McCarthy, and then he ended up getting them to sign on. So every fucking one of them. So
so how do you feel like this is the dumbest vote ever and then vote for it? Like, I don't. How do you?
What I'm assuming is this was something planned and discussed behind the scenes in order for McCarthy to get that speaker vote.
Oh, of course.
So this is something that he probably had to do. And it probably was something where maybe a more moderate Republican might be against it, but they had to co-sign on that with the extremists to vote for him. So now one of his first acts as speaker is to rally them together and say, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going after her.
Why would they be in a position to co-sign?
Who?
Someone who doesn't agree with it.
If because the moderates wanted him in. So to negotiate with the extremists, the Marjorie Taylor, well, not the Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Bobarts or whatever. I think she was the one holding out. In order for them to say, okay.
So you're saying they're just keeping good with their promise.
Right.
Gotcha.
In good faith, this is what we're going to do when I'm speaker, and they're doing it. And who knows what else they got going on there. That's what I'm thinking could be a possibility. But in the end, what they do is they attack specific disenfranchised groups, and then they falsely accuse those disenfranchised groups of the very thing that they're doing. So with Ilhan Omar, it's, oh, she's an anti-Semite. Look, because she's from Somalia and she's a Black woman and she was a refugee and she's made some comments that we don't like. Meanwhile, and AOC really nailed it the way she went in, and she was super passionate defending Ilhan Omar and talked about how her life was threatened, and how we have some Republicans talking about Jewish space lasers and all of this anti-Semitic stuff, and nothing happens to them. Right. And meanwhile, Ilhan Omar becomes their target. It's disgusting. And it's been happening since Trump was president, and even before that. I don't know if you remember that rally with Trump where he started talking about her, and the crowd started chanting, "Send her back."
Yeah.
And then in her speech, she cites Barack Obama and what they said and did to him, and how one of the things that they were saying is he's from Kenya. He's a terrorist. He's a Muslim. And she rightly said, well, you know what? I am from Africa and I am Muslim. So they were making Obama to be this monster based on a lie, but she is some of those things that they're saying, and they can't stand it.
Some ugly fucking people in this world, man.
It's ugly.
I think
it's ugly.
I don't think it's gonna work in their favor. I think this is a huge display of desperation.
I hope you're right, man.
And I think I don't think it's gonna work out for them.
I really hope you're right.
You know, it's weird because for years Republicans have been masterful about implementing their plan and setting up the future. But after we look at what happened in the midterms, pretty much a complete rebuke of the big lie, you know, the election steal. And they're still sticking to that.
Well, but look, they it's culture wars, right? Everything you see DeSantis doing, everything, it's culture wars, right? And like I was saying, they find ways to pit groups against one another. This is what they do. This is always their strategy because they have no ideas. Every idea that they have and everything they try to do, notice, is centered around some culture war. It's not really about making anything better.
Yeah, but usually they're very good at it.
They are good at it. They've gotten a lot of things done based on that.
Yeah, but I'm talking looking forward. Like
They don't
usually,
think that way though.
yeah, they do. Oh, yes, they
Well,
do.
I
Bro,
think
they tend to set things, they putting things in place step before step before step, and it's been working out masterfully.
it
They
has worked out masterfully. So
but
why would we
what
think that?
what I'm saying is I think it's coming to an end because they don't have intelligent leadership anymore. They're just relying on flames. The They got burnt in the midterms, which they weren't expecting. They haven't shifted gears at all. They're still stuck on the same message that failed. It's gonna be even worse come the next election.
I think moderate people in general and people on the left, we keep looking at the situation and thinking, hey, you know, they're making a lot of missteps here. They're people aren't falling for the shit, but it seems like they will lose every other presidential election and every other midterm election or whatever. It seems like we just been going back and forth. But every time they win, they move the goalposts. They move the needle more to the right. We see this
But
with the
you
guns. We saw this with the abortion stuff. We've seen this with countless things where somehow they're able to get policies implemented. This thing happening with DeSantis. This is going to be a red state thing.
Yeah, the state's different than
It's
federal. Like we're from top to bottom red. There's no question.
and what happens if he's president? Then this kind of stuff becomes federal.
Nah, he it's not gonna be as easy.
Really? So you don't think if they sue and this gets to the Supreme Court and with a right-wing Supreme Court, they say that this is okay, this doesn't become something that could be federal? See, that's where my thinking is these little steps that they're doing, they're winning. They're not winning the argument, they're winning the battle. Maybe even a war.
Yeah, I think they're running out of steam though.
Man, I hope you are I hope you're right. But I'll say this though. Shout out to the squad. I love every member of them. I'm a super progressive, so I love what they represent. I love the fact that, you know, we have some real strong women of color. They're truly inspirational and they are inspiring millions. And I hope that they continue to have the strength because the way they're being attacked, it's really sad and telling.
So you brought him up. We might as well just get right into it. DeSantis is dismantling Florida education.
The same.
For some of us. So College Board, if for those who aren't aware, referring to the AP African American Studies, College Board purged the names of many Black writers and scholars associated with critical race theory, queer experience, and Black feminism, and then ushered out some of the political topics like Black Lives Matter from the curriculum, instead making it an elected project. And then they added Black conservatism as an idea for a research project as well.
How to be an Uncle Tom.
Yeah, they're catching some flack from I've heard from different point of views. It appears that they're crumbling to the political pressure, but from other perspectives who have a background in these AP programs, that this tends to not be, these were some things about this AP program that were unique, because in other AP programs, they don't typically recommend readings from particular individuals. So this was something that was unique to this AP program, and they kind of backtracked and removed it. So
yeah, they're succumbing to the pressure because it's either that or nothing.
I think it can be seen both ways, but it definitely, with the timing, makes it look like they definitely are falling under political pressure.
The fact that he's going after schools and colleges, and it's so strong. And it's centered around education about Black history. The fact that he's doing that and the Republicans in the state are doing that, there is no other argument other than this is a racially motivated attack.
That's a fact, because this AP program is not the only front. Now he's banning diversity studies and inclusion initiatives from Florida colleges. That's the wildest shit I've heard. He's also signed a bill, HB 395, which mandates communism lessons in schools. And this will become effective next school year.
So on one side, they say, and again, I'm only pointing out the hypocrisy, not because it matters, but on one side, hey, we can't set an agenda and politicize history in schools, right? That's one of the things that he said when it was talking about the AP course, right? He's like, we can't indoctrinate kids with political ideology. But then on the other side, let's teach communism, let's teach Black conservatives, conservatives and all of this stuff. Like, so it really is, they can contradict themselves and straight up lie, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Their base stays the same, and people on the left just kind of sit back in shock.
It's funny. Where do you think he made the announcement of the signing the bill for the mandating the communism lessons? Where do you think that took place at?
I have no idea.
Outside of Russia, what is the largest communism population we know of?
Wouldn't it be China?
Yeah, I guess it would be China. A little closer to home.
Just tell me. Just spill the beans, Cuba. Man. Cuba. Okay.
So he goes down to Miami and appeases his Cubans. Says,
wait, he did it in Cuba or he did it in Miami?
In Miami.
Oh, okay.
For the Cubans.
You were really screwing my head up.
He went all the way to Cuba to announce that shit.
So he went to China? Like, jeez. Like, wait, isn't China larger than? Like, I was just like, I was confused.
That was my bad.
That population is pretty. China's
bigger than Russia, actually.
Yeah, pretty thick with a lot of people, right? Like, maybe he came back in that fucking balloon.
That's funny. I blew it with China. My bad. He went to Miami and, appealing to his
hey, it's pretty close, right? China, Miami. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. They got Chinese food there. I don't know.
Something, right? Yeah.
So
yeah, it doesn't surprise me that
I just think we're off. I think it's like you were saying, it's all political stunts, because while he's doing this, if his real focus was Florida education, then he would figure out why the state of Florida is short of 5,300 teachers that they don't want to teach here. In this county, we're short 500 teachers. For the first half of the year, these kids would go to school and they would not know what teacher was going to be there. They started out with someone from the school board as their teacher. Weeks in, they got a substitute teacher for a couple of weeks, and then they finally get a teacher. Like, it's no consistency. The lessons aren't being taught because they don't have teachers. They're just sticking anybody in these classrooms. But he's so concerned about our education. There is none as it stands right now. It's horrible.
Well, let me just clarify. I don't think this is really a political stunt. I think that there's some of that involved in this, but I do think that there's a more sinister motivation behind why we're seeing this. Like Stephen A., I was listening to him and he was like, DeSantis don't give a damn about school. This is just a political scheme for him to become president. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. If you're looking at the big picture here, first of all, he said that he's gonna stay his full term. Don't know if that's true or not. Probably isn't true. So just that aside, but hiring military people as police officers, that was one of the first things that he did, right? Pushing for armed security people and armed teachers in the schools. This is another thing the Republicans are pushing, right? taking away certain educational courses, defunding schools. All of this stuff these things have been in the works for years. It's not like DeSantis just swooped down out of nowhere and came up with this shit by himself. He's doing what basically the Republican agenda. He's just doing some things in a more aggressive fashion because he can.
Not so much. A lot of these bills, he appears to be doing a lot. A lot of these bills, these bullshit bills that he signs, if you actually go read them, they're empty. But they appear to be a certain way. Even the woke bill, a lot of it's been torn out. A lot of it's been thrown out by judges.
Right, but you still have teachers who are emptying out their shelves of books or plastering them with paper so nobody can even read them
because they're threatened.
Because of this, right? Because they're threatened.
Absolutely.
If we're already having a teacher problem in schools, then why the fuck are you discouraging teachers from doing their jobs, threatening them to be felons?
That's my point. He's not so concerned about the education. I mean, the reason by the
he's not concerned about the education. He's actually the opposite. He's helping destroy our educational system.
Pretty much.
But that's not a political only type of move. It's only political because his base are a bunch of evil bastards that are rooting for this shit. It's the truth. His base, they're shit. Sorry, you're shit. I mean, that's how I feel about him. If you support this kind of stuff and you have a kid in school, you should really you should swallow a bunch of pills tonight.
I think a lot of them just aren't informed. I reached out to somebody. I don't even know if I want to talk about this. I'll do it. I'll do it respectfully and as private as the best way I can. I reached out to someone who I've known since high school, who is a Black Republican. And
almost an oxymoron, but not nowadays. But
well, you know what? I take that back because
Black conservative.
I'll say that because he does not call himself that. He doesn't identify that way, but he just tends to vote that way. I asked him how he felt about it as someone who, because he has spoken positively about DeSantis before. So I just hit him up and I was like, as a Black man, how do you feel about this? And he was in support of it. Of his initial comment was he went straight to queer theory. I guess I'll add that.
What did I say last week?
You hit it on the head. So, but it gets deeper. So we're going back and forth and we're talking, and it was a dope conversation, super respectful. And I picked up on something he was saying, and we were probably 3/4 through the conversation before I realized, wait, he's got this wrong. He doesn't understand what's going on. He kept saying queer theory course. He kept saying course. And eventually I was like, wait, hold on. Just so we're clear, this is not a course. The course is African American Studies. What you're referring to is a section in a chapter. And his response was, this was by text, what? With 5 exclamation points. Because all he heard was queer theory. He never got any of the rest of it.
That's what I said last week. For those of you who didn't tune in or don't remember, I said that DeSantis, smartly, the strategy is, and they do this a lot, is in order to get Black people on their side of their white supremacist conservative views, what they do, and we see this, they're always pitting groups against one another, right? Whether it's Black and Jews, Black and gay, but it's easy to attack the queer portion of it or the wording of it. Very easy for them to do that, to get Black people on the side of that, especially if you're a Black conservative. So it's no surprise that your friend only heard or read that one portion, and now he's a supporter of DeSantis for this, on top of already being a supporter. But
so yeah, then I went and I said, and let's clear it up a little further. There is no such thing as queer theory anywhere in this curriculum. And I went on to explain, it's the Black queer studies. I typed out, the explanation of that part in the syllabus. Then he still was a little on the fence because he just didn't feel like there was no reason to be discussing anyone's sexuality. And then when I explained it from the point of view where it's not discussing their sexuality or anything like that, as there are gay Black Americans who have who are a part of our history that deserve to be discussed. And the reason we don't discuss them is strictly because of their sexuality preference, their queerism in general. And then I brought up some who he hadn't heard of. And I said, you haven't heard of them, but they're no less important than MLK or Malcolm X. But you hear about the drug dealing, pimping Malcolm X. You hear about the adulterous MLK, but you don't hear about this man who's a genius author. And then he started to shift. And then he eventually was like, I get it.
But if there was a vote tomorrow, he'd be voting for DeSantis regardless.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And that's the problem. That's a real problem. How do you fight against that ignorance? It's really difficult. It's really difficult. Even in our podcast, right? Or even just you talking one-on-one to a friend. You're not changing his ideology at all. Now, you may help. Maybe 20 other things happen in the next 6 months that maybe a light goes off, or goes on. But for the most part, a lot of people just, they pick a team and they stick with the team. But yeah, more to come, because it's a shit story. It really is. And I don't think it's just a political move. I think this is I think this is going to cause a lot of problems for many years down the road.
I don't know. But I mean, we'll know soon. We'll see what his response is to these changes, because he can't have a problem. He laid out 6 problems. All 6 of them have been removed. Now what? And we added, some Black conservatism in there. So now what? Did they crumble to political pressure, or did they call his bluff?
Damn, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't know. Like
the school board, they removed the 6 issues that he had with the course and presented it back to him. So we're waiting on the state's response to that.
Okay. So the racist governor of Florida gets to dictate curriculum in school. That's great.
What do you mean?
He's literally dictating it. So what's going to happen? Let's say he turns around and says, "Okay, remove now 3 more things."
Yeah, I don't think.
How long do they play this game to where
I don't think.
How long do they play this game until it's totally stripped down to nothing?
I don't think that'll happen. At that point, there'll be an extensive amount of lawsuits. The state will get buried under lawsuits.
It should be happening now.
It's close. I think a lot of people are waiting to see what happens with this.
That's our problem. We should not be waiting. That should.
You have to have a reason to sue if he's gonna.
But it should also be the media. It should be people. It should be where he can't go anywhere without being confronted with that issue, without there being protests, without the media in his face chasing him through fucking elevators and from car to car. Like it should really be in his face 24/7. I know politically inclined people that have no idea this is happening.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? stay tuned.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see.
Tune into the podcast. Get the scoop.
You know we're gonna give it to you here. Memphis Police Department seems to be presenting, along with the media, I don't know how else to explain it other than their response is littered with racism, in my view. We were presented 5 black men on a tray who were immediately fired and immediately charged, which are 2 unprecedented things that we don't normally see in this country. Normally, cops getting fired and charged so fast. Typically, they're suspended with pay pending investigation, and then they may get charged a year later or something like that. But then we find out that there's a 6th officer involved who was white, who didn't get fired at the same time, but a couple days later. So they knew about it while they were presenting these 5 black men to us, but never discussed it. This cop was the one who tased Tyre, and he has not been charged. And then we find out that there's a 7th officer who, for some reason, remains unnamed, and he or she's role in the event has not been given, and that individual has not been charged either.
Were they fired?
Yes. So total of 7 cops have been fired, 5 charged.
And the only ones charged were black.
Correct.
Now, in the video that I saw, the moment that he was tased and he was running, I couldn't really make out any of the cops, like not even their bodies or their face. It was just a lot of camera craziness. So I don't know. And in the part of the video where I saw where it was the surveillance footage and the officers were hitting him, they all appeared to be black men. I didn't see black officers. I didn't see anyone else.
So this cop that tased him was the 3rd cop to report to the scene. He was involved all the way up until the point where Tyre escaped and starts to run towards his mom's house. At that time, the white cop turned back and went back to the original scene, but was recorded saying, "I hope they stomp the shit out of him." So look, I think
sentiment, it's horrible. But if he wasn't directly involved in the murder,
he tased him. That's a direct involvement.
It's a direct involvement. That's not what killed him. And it wasn't like he was tasing him while he was getting beaten. He tased him to stop him from running, which is police. If we're honest, it's a typical police procedure to pull out a taser when a suspect of anything is running, even though he wasn't a suspect of shit. Let me finish my point. So I'm hesitant to say, oh, his involvement is the same, but I think there should be an investigation and he should likely be charged. I just don't know what they charge him with. He doesn't get the same charges that the other gentlemen get. Gentlemen, why did I call them that? He doesn't get he doesn't get the same charges that the other officers should get. I think even 2 of the officers are more culpable than the other ones. But those other officers should get charged with something because of their involvement. I just don't know what that is.
Tasing a suspect is acceptable. Tasing someone who has not committed a crime and after it's been pointed out that there was no legitimate reason for the stop. Everything that happens after that point is all illegal.
So is it a legitimate defense to say, I didn't know why he was being apprehended by the other officers? I was just trying to subdue him and get him to stop. I walked away, was taking care of something else. I had no idea what was happening over there. Even if his sentiment was, I hope they stomp him out. No, Daym, I'm with you on it. Morally, I'm with you on it. My question is, what do they charge him with?
There were two. I don't know what they charge him with, but he should have been charged. He should be charged at maybe at the very least an accessory to murder.
Okay. But
I wouldn't have a problem charging him with murder either, because there were two instances in
wait a minute, but you know how this works. If they charge him with the wrong thing, then he can probably get off. They have to be sure that they know what they're charging him with, and they can get him if the prosecution's, if the state is doing their job.
He took part in events that led to someone's death.
I will guarantee that the likelihood is, if they charge him, the 2 white officers walk and all 5 officers go to prison.
We don't know of 2 white officers. We know of one.
One and the other officer.
The 7th, we don't know who, what, or their involvement.
Okay.
We just know there's a 7th. But what I was saying was, I think it seems like you're focused on where everything ended, the final beatdown after he ran towards his mom's house. But he got beat up at the stop. He got drug out of the car and beat up, and that's when he was tased.
I'm not caught up on it in the sense where if I was a juror, that would be my biggest concern. I'm caught up on it because I know how typically they get away with this shit. Well, that's where I'm caught up with it. It's not that I agree necessarily that these people have their hands clean of this. It's just the fact that I don't know what they get charged with. We can't just charge them for no reason.
He was there and he allowed it to happen.
And he was doing his job, and that's going to be his defense.
His job is not to allow 5 cops beating up someone.
Absolutely. But
then his job is not to allow a man that's near death to just sit in a car without any attempt to
so if he was there attention. If he was there and didn't provide medical attention, then that's a charge right there, or didn't push for it or whatever. But if he wasn't there, if he wasn't witnessing what was happening, if he was just taking care of something else.
Well, he was.
I didn't see that in the video.
He was there. He was the 3rd cop to respond.
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying while he was being beat down.
He tased him while he was being beaten.
Damn. He tased him, and when they were trying to arrest him.
Yes.
But when wait, hold on. You did not see the video. Wait, you did not see the video. But when he was getting beaten down, what ultimately killed him had nothing to do with that first altercation. Nothing. This guy was out on his feet, literally out on his feet, and they were holding him and they were measuring him.
But he was with blows there, to his my head. Point.
He was there, of course. But the argument and the defense is, even before it gets to court, is going to be, I had nothing to do with that shit.
But he allowed it.
We don't know that. We don't know if he was witnessing that. We don't know if he co-signed with that. Unless there's some video footage or some information that I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, the only people in that video, and when they panned that shit out from the security cameras, there were no other cops. It was just those 5 guys beating this man down.
All right. Well, here's what the investigation says. He was there. Not only was he there.
I'm not saying he wasn't there.
Well, he was there watching it. Not only was he there, but there were 2 Shelby County sheriff deputies there as well that have responded to the scene, and they were watching it. They've been suspended without pay while they conduct their investigation. So it was more they no different than the George Floyd case, where other cops that were there were charged for not intervening and allowing a murder to happen.
Absolutely.
So I don't
They
see the
they
difference here.
the difference is that in the George Floyd case, there was plenty of video evidence to show that not only did they not interfere, but they actually kept the crowd at bay so he could continue, Chauvin could continue to kill him. So they were actively part of it. I don't know if that was the case here. I don't know if it's the same thing. If it was the same thing, I am 1000% on board. My fear is that we start focusing on the white cop because the black cops got charged so quickly, which never happens. And of course it's going to happen. It's the same thing I tell black gun owners. It's like, yeah, you having a Second Amendment right as well, but the law doesn't apply to you the same. That's the reality. And you know me, we always have these conversations. I'm always focused on the end result more so than I am all the in-between stuff. But if he is, or if they are, whoever else was involved, if they were witness to it and they didn't intervene, they should be charged. I just don't know if we know that.
That's the way it reads to me.
Well, if your interpretation is correct, and it very well might be, then they should be charged. Absolutely.
It just seems, then, we talk about the 3 emergency responders. They were only suspended initially. And then after, the videos broke and everyone went crazy, then they were fired. They should never be able to practice. They should lose every certification they have.
The only time I would side with them not being so, because I've seen where cops will actually push them away or tell them, get away. He still could be dangerous or whatever. But in the video that I saw, there was one crouched down, just basically staring at him. Like, I thought I saw him like just putting gloves or something. I can't remember exactly, but they didn't seem to. There wasn't no urgency there.
Yeah, according to the fire department, they failed to follow several procedures. So
do you think that they should be charged, or you think that just?
I don't think they should be charged.
Banned?
They should have been fired immediately, and they should never be able to work in that field again.
I don't know if I can argue that. So yeah,
your job is to provide medical aid and save life. When you just stand there for 15 minutes without even attempting to do anything, and then you're like, oh, we should go check him out. Nah, you failed majorly. Those 15 minutes might have saved his life.
Yeah.
Who knows? So I don't think they should be able to. I don't think they should be able to stick a needle in someone's arm. They can't be a phlebotomist. They go flip burgers, go find another career. Medical field is done for you. Whatever it is. Oh. I don't understand. I don't understand why everybody there wasn't charged.
Dang.
I know. It's not a black and white thing for me. Everyone there should be charged. I don't even know what the race of the other 2 county sheriffs were. I don't care. They were there with their hands in their fucking pockets, watching this happen. There is no traffic violation that warrants any of this.
None of it.
You know what?
The risk that they run is
true story. Yesterday, this happened to me like a month or 2 ago, and I don't know what causes it, but while I'm working, my phone in my pocket, on the lock screen, it has an emergency button, and it dialed 911 in my pocket while I was working. I didn't realize it till I get back in the truck and I hear this weird noise coming from, I don't know where it's coming from. Finally, I pull my phone out and I'm like, oh shit. So I see missed phone calls from the police department. Call them back. Sorry, pocket, good, whatever.
They sent an officer.
It happened again later, like an hour later. And at this point, I didn't notice it. And they called twice and I missed those calls. So when I called in, when I realized what happened again, I called them and the dude was like, okay, just give me your phone number so I can cancel this call because they were already on the way. I had already missed 2 phone calls from them. I called 911 from my phone, missed 2 phone calls from them. They're on the way. There's a GPS symbol on my phone popping up, giving them my location. I got the fuck out of there because I just don't even want to have, even though I did nothing wrong.
You didn't want to have
I didn't want to have any interaction with a police officer.
So here's the thing. I know I've heard a lot of people say, well, why don't they just comply? Why don't they just lay down, put their hands in? And what's happened now, and I don't think we're kind of labeling this properly, is now because of all these police killings of Black men, there's now a psychological aspect to it that I don't know if it's even reasonable to ask anyone to just totally comply. I think most Black men are in such of a state of fear,
right,
that it's either going to be a fight or flight response.
Exactly. That's exactly what I think happened here.
Yeah.
When when you're in a position, you got 4 people around you, 5 people around you, and they're trying to pin you to the ground on your stomach. Instantly, I would be thinking George Floyd.
Right.
And the same way George Floyd was screaming for his mom. This guy was screaming for his mom, who was, yards away. And for him to be able to muster up, as small as he was compared to the size of, as you pointed out in the last episode, all of these guys were big.
Yes.
For him to be able to escape the 5 of them to run, he had to be in pure panic mode. He's thinking he's going to die, and he's doing what he can do to save his life.
He was calling for his mother.
Yeah.
He was calling for his mother.
Yep. So it's hard to, it's hard to think that you would respond in any other way. You just lay there and let them kill you because that's what you think is going to happen.
And it might happen.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point now where, what do we do? What do we do as a society? Like, how do we fix this? Is there any fixing to this? Like, I mean, obviously there are some, but is there anything that, do you think that can be done on a national level that's going to change this dynamic?
Yes, but it will never happen.
So then the answer is no.
It can't ever happen.
Disarm police.
That's not what I have in mind. I think if police departments were under review by the federal government or held responsible to the federal government, a lot of things would change. But yes, because local police departments only ever have to respond, are responsible to responding to the DA, who they usually are working hand in hand with, a lot of shit gets swept under the rug. A lot of leniency is given. A lot of rope is given. And so these things are allowed to happen until too much of it happens.
Do you think that it's a reasonable thing? Because I think about this all the time, right? Why do typical police officers that are pulling people over, traffic police officers, state troopers, that sort of thing, why do they have to have guns? I get I get a detective who's going into a building because they got to break in somewhere, they got a warrant, and shit is crazy. I get if there's a report of somebody with a gun, but traffic police should they even have them?
It's hard to say no because, I mean, we've seen a lot of times where um, drug dealers get pulled over for traffic stops, or someone with a warrant gets pulled over for a traffic stop, and they will fire on the cops to avoid, going to jail. It happens a lot.
It happens. I don't think it happens nowhere near as much as the opposite.
I don't know. I don't know. I won't say one way or the other. I don't know that to be true.
Well,
I don't know what the stats
part of
are.
the argument too, part of my argument with that be too would be, I mean, why are we prosecuting people who are involved in drugs like that? If you pull over a drug dealer, right, and they have a bunch of drugs in the car or whatever, if you're suspecting that, you go back in your fucking car, you call for backup, and there you have it. If there's a legitimate reason,
But you may not be suspecting it. They might have just ran a red light.
Fine, that could happen. That could happen. But if the person doesn't give you consent anyway to search, if there's no reasonable reason for you to suspect them having drugs, because that's what they have to have. They have to have one, they have to have a reason to pull you over. And then two, in order to search a vehicle, they have to have some reason to believe that you may have a weapon or drugs or contraband or whatever you want to call it in there. They can't just look at you and say, oh, okay, I pulled you over for running the stop sign. Now I'm searching your car.
No,
They can't do that.
It's not how it works. But
that is how it works.
That's not how it works. But that's not what I was saying. What
Explain
I was saying,
how it works. I'm not letting that go.
Let me finish. What I was saying is not that the cop gets shot because they're searching. It a lot of times doesn't even get to that point. The person being pulled over knows what they have in the car, and they know that it's going to get searched. They don't let it get to that point. They're taking off or they're shooting at the cops. That happens.
It doesn't happen often, but go ahead.
It happens a lot.
It doesn't happen that often.
In terms of the search, all the cop needs in this state anyway, all the cop needs is a suspicion, a smell for them to ask. If you don't give them permission, they can detain you there and call for a dog. The dog walks, and then the dog walks around and alerts, and your doors are getting popped, your trunk are getting popped, and they're searching.
That's no different than what I'm saying. They can't just search your shit for no reason. They have to have a reason. And if, let's say, under your scenario, right? Okay, I think I smell something. They get a dog. If they don't violate that, they get a dog. The dog smells there's nothing there. But if they do violate it, they can plant shit, which we've known that cops do all the time. Oh, we plant the shit.
Fake alerts from the dogs.
Right. So whatever it is, the point is, if the protocol isn't for them to have weapons on them for typical traffic violations or whatever, and that's the law, and even drug dealers know that, they're likely not going to fucking shoot them to get away. They're going to just stand their ground and say, you have no reason to search me or whatever. Give me my ticket and let me be on my fucking way. I'd rather have that. I'd rather a drug dealer get pulled over for running a red light and then just get his ticket and drive away than have the shit that we have now. That's all I'm saying. I'm thinking that other countries do this stuff. Other countries don't have cops armed to the gills to pull someone over for a traffic infraction.
Yeah.
You didn't put your signal light on. You have an air freshener hanging off of your rear view mirror. Like, okay, now we gotta drag you out of your car. Like, why?
Because they fear us.
Oh, it's pretty simple.
Yeah. Unfortunately. But I do think if they found ways to have communities policed by their own, if they incorporated mental health professionals into the departments where cops aren't responding to calls, for someone who didn't take their medication and shit like that, because we know how that turns out all the time. Like, we can't keep just doing the same thing. Cops are not trained for this shit. So let's get someone there who's trained.
There's
Or
another.
let's create a new, we have patrolmen, we have sheriffs, we have detectives. Let's create a new breed of cop who is trained,
Specializing and trained in that, right?
and also has the ability to protect themselves as a police officer and protect others. So maybe is armed, but is trained not to rely on being armed, but using their mental health.
I don't know if that would change anything, because then they would have a professional a professional excuse or a trained excuse to say that they were an immediate threat. It would eventually be, I think, the same thing. I think the whole point is, for minor traffic infractions, I think the best bet is to stop pulling people over. In fact, if you see someone and you're trying to pull them over, a cop, and they don't pull them over, you get the tag and you just send them that bill, astronomical court fees or whatever it is, citations or whatever. But I don't think chasing anyone anymore, pulling people over with guns, I don't think any of that is effective anymore. It's causing more damage, more psychological trauma, and more money than it should.
I think you're onto something. And I think I've read what you just said. I've read about that before. There are cities, or there's places where they just have radars on the road. And if you're speeding, you get caught, just the ticket shows up. Like, there is no, you don't get pulled over. Like, you're going to get the ticket in the mail.
Right. And there was another story, and we're not really covering it too much, but it's another shooting where the man on a wheelchair, double amputee, he's jumps off his wheelchair. Apparently he stabbed someone or whatever. So, the cops were already on high alert, and they get to the scene, and he's apparently trying to run away. He's swinging a knife.
He jumps out of the wheelchair.
Jumps off of the wheelchair, barely moving. He wasn't a threat to them. He wasn't a threat. He had a knife. And I know some people right away are like, oh, he could.
But he's moving away from the cops.
But he's moving away, and they shot and killed him. Clearly, there was something wrong. Right. Clearly, there was something wrong with him. Clearly. I mean, I'm not diagnosing his mental health or whatever, but he could have been totally sane, but there was something fucking wrong at that moment. Like,
it's not normal behavior to jump out of your wheelchair and try and run away, and you don't have legs.
And you're doing this shit with the knife with a cop 10 feet away from you. But as crazy as that behavior was, what's even crazier is that they felt the need to kill him. And then the thing was, and this is something that they do with black people all the time, right? They make black men into these unstoppable monsters, right? So it's like, we tried to tase him. It just wasn't working. We had to put him down. Like, that's the shit that you keep hearing in these stories. So, again, the whole police officer thing, you're right. There should be some mental health professionals called in for certain situations. And I think it's an outdated thing to just be pulling people over. And then even sometimes you get pulled over, and what is the way they talk to you? It's like, you're not my daddy, bro. Like, do you know why I stopped you? And like, no, fuck you. Tell me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are we playing this game? Like, why are we doing this? If we're supposed to be a country,
those are they're trained. I know those are tactics.
I know, but it's just, the whole thing is just shitty. It's shitty, and all it is just an excuse to continue to fucking kill people.
Well, yeah, that, and it's a revenue creator. Like, it seems our police department is there to generate revenue for the county.
Yeah. And what better way than to attack a certain group of its citizens, more
take their money and their lives.
Right. Anyway, next. Every time we hit these conversations, Dame, we just hit a wall, and I don't know what else to add because I get so mad, man.
Yeah, I kind of the same way. There was a whole bunch more I had there, but I'm just like, fuck it.
Yeah, I agree. For once, I fucking agree with you. Yeah, let's move the fuck on, bro. Like, oh god, Chinese balloons. Let's do it, bro.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. Nope. It's a Chinese spy balloon. What the fuck is going on, man?
So we're starting this segment with that. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Dame, but the idea that China is sending balloons.
Yeah.
Now I know that this is something that's happened before.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't anything new. Spy balloons and whatever. Satellites, they do it with satellites. We do it. But this seems a little different to me. This seems extremely aggressive and worrisome.
Is that the right word?
Well, what other word would I use?
It's not. Aggression usually comes with some threat of physical harm.
That's not.
No.
Tell me that if it wasn't coming with some sort of physical threat or some sort of visual threat, then why is it even news?
It's collecting information. It's a spy.
To do what? To fight us in a war. They're not collecting information to look at the landscape of Montana. Like nobody gives a fuck about Montana. Like,
clearly.
Yeah, it's a military move. So it's an aggressive move.
But the thing is that this balloon, and this is according to the Pentagon, does not have any more ability than China's low-flying satellites. It's capturing the same information. Now, this may be able to pick up radio frequencies and things like that, at these military installations that they're flying over. And, it's easy enough just to go dark, radio silence.
I feel like it could be a test. It could be, let's see how the Americans respond to this. And to me, that's the aggression.
Remember when Facebook had the little poke?
No, it's not like the poke. That's a terrible analogy.
It's a poke.
No, you know what that is? That's you have beef with some dude, and he's like, let's see what this motherfucker does, and he winks at your girl. That's what that shit is. That's like, let's see what the fuck are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Okay.
And what would you do, Dane?
I don't think
you'd have a problem. You'd at least stare. You'd at least say something. You'd be like, "Yo, like, watch yourself."
Oh, I'm sure that's happening.
Right. So that's what this is, man. It's
posturing, though. It's not you. My only challenge was that you said this was an aggressive move.
It's an aggressive move. Look, it's passive aggressive. We'll use that term.
Passive
is that
aggressive.
Better?
Yes.
Passive aggressive.
Better.
But the difference is you get into a scuffle with a guy and one of you walk away with a black guy. This could be a fucking nuclear annihilation. Like that's what I'm talking about. If something like this escalated to the point where maybe now we send a balloon over there, you know what I'm saying? And we drop it a little bit low. And then, they're going to fuck with us. And then they do something else. And then on. And now we have a nuclear arms race. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, like, this just seems different to me. With all the tension happening with China, North and South Korea, the whole thing with Taiwan and the fucking what are the fucking chips that they have?
Intel.
No, not the Intel. The semiconductors.
Yeah.
So they're the largest semiconductor manufacturer in the world, and the idea that China might take them over, which has been the threat for a while, would incredibly affect the rest of the world's economy and electronics. So all of this stuff playing, it's aggressive, bro. passive aggressive, but it is aggressive.
I don't know, because like whenever China wants to get wild, they'll throw off some rockets in the ocean. South Korea play that game.
Bro,
Like
this ain't Iraq, man. This is China.
that's no, but I'm saying they go up and they land in the ocean. Like they're just like, oh, we're testing it right above you. You know what I mean? That's an aggressive. This is a fucking balloon with some cameras on it. It's not aggressive. It's strategic.
You confuse me. You confuse me a lot, bro.
Okay.
Like the way you think. It's okay for cops to have sex on the job. It's okay to China to just hover balloons over the United States.
I'm not saying I didn't say any of those things were okay.
There's just something there where you're just like, yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just a balloon, bro. Like I love balloons. Like it's my birthday. Like that's how you talking about this shit.
I just don't think. I think it's a little hyped.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Chinese balloon hovering over Montana, and now
either
that there was another one.
Either that, or, which is very possible, that the Pentagon isn't letting on to what this thing really is.
You're not talking UFOs, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
In terms of its capability.
Okay. In order to not freak out the public.
Right.
Could it be possible? Because it's a large balloon.
You know what my thought was
it's a threat.
No. Well, maybe.
They got a nuclear bomb.
Not nuclear. I thought
chemical
weapons.
So if we shoot it, why are you smiling, bro? That shit scares the fuck out of me. It's
sure there's a way to blow that shit right back out of into the Pacific.
I'm sure, but they're scared that it's gonna harm the civilians down there when they blow it up. If it's just cameras,
no, not blow it up. I mean, like
shoot it.
No.
Oh, you mean like guide it out?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We should just call Superman.
There you go. I started off by look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane.
Maybe China is just trying to spread cheer throughout the world, right?
Maybe they just want to learn about the weather in North and South America this time of year.
We know that's bullshit, but yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah. Seriously though. When you put this together with what the general, the Air Force was the Air Force. It was the Air Force general like 2 weeks ago. He was like my gut tells me we're going to be in a fight in 2025, talking about China, obviously over Taiwan. When he says something like that, and then, this shit starts happening.
Yes, that's why I'm like, yo, this is aggression. Like, this isn't just like, Daym, look, I know your idea of aggression is like maybe shooting like a fucking missile over the continent or whatever, but This is aggressive, bro. It's aggressive for me. For me, bro. I wouldn't like it.
Y'all are telling us this is some meteorological bullshit, and we clearly can identify this as has the surveillance capabilities. Nah. What's really going on?
Or maybe it has some weather controlling new tech. You can tell I watch a lot of sci-fi shit, so yeah, maybe it can produce tornadoes.
I mean, that's a big conspiracy theory out there. You know that, right?
That government controls weather or people control the weather. Yeah. They don't, but yeah, that'd be fucking hilarious.
And there's some facility on the west coast of Africa that
ladies and gentlemen, this is not what his channel is. I'm not doing no conspiracy theories. Let me just shut my mouth for like even bringing that up. But anyway.
Yeah, so I guess more to come with the China balloons.
China. Anyway,
Anyway, we're laughing. This could be a very serious matter.
Yeah, it's all your fault.
That's I'm such an asshole. But
I would agree.
yeah, man. Well,
anyway, speaking of balloons, Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving wants a trade.
And as of Friday, because this is when we're recording this, there is no trade, but the deadline is on Thursday, right? Next Thursday or something like that. So they have 6 days, or not even a week. Not even a week. So do you think he's going to get traded?
Yes.
And of course, the conversation is that he might get traded to the Lakers. You think
very likely?
I think the teams were the Lakers, the Mavericks, the Heat, and the Clippers, right? Those are the likely destinations.
Yeah. He's a free agent next year. They would be a fool not to trade him. They're not signing him. They're not going to give him what he wants. So they're not going to get him next year. So it's in their advantage to ship him out now, get players, get first round picks for him. They win.
Here's the thing. So all you Kyrie stands out there, all you Kyrie defenders out there, I don't even think he deserves to be in the league. His talent there, he's an N1 basketball player. That's what he is. He's a talented player. There's no doubt about it. But
you just said he's not. You just said he's shit.
He's shit.
You said he's shit. He's N1, and then you follow that up with he's talented. He's a top 10 point guard in this league. You can't name 10 guards better than him. You can't.
I can, actually. You know why? You know why? Because he's not reliable. And that's gonna always supersede your talent. It's always gonna supersede your talent in any field that you're in. You can be.
No, that's when contracts come into play.
Well, right. So here's my thing. So between his antics about not playing and what he did in Boston, what he did in Cleveland, his flat earth shit, his anti-Semitic shit.
Leave all that out of there. We're talking about basketball.
No. But it's all part of it. It's all part of the whole thing. KD isn't my favorite player, but are we going to deny that KD deserves fucking better than Kyrie Irving?
Well, what are we talking about? Kyrie wants a trade. What's the issue?
He wanted a contract extension. That's what we're talking about here. And Brooklyn likely told him, look, we're not going to give you one now, or we're not going to give you the one you want. You have to prove yourself. Now, Kyrie has been playing pretty good these last 2 months, right? Hold on, right?
Great. Yeah.
He's playing great. And Brooklyn has actually, had somewhat of a winning record. They're what? Second in the East? Second or third or some shit like that? Right?
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
Honestly, if I'm Brooklyn, I wouldn't give it to him.
But that's my whole point. You know that's a reasonable request from Brooklyn. It would, if you were running Brooklyn, if you were in charge of the Nets, right? And you were in this situation with Kyrie Irving, you would honestly, I think any person who knows the history would be like, look, Kyrie, we want to keep you, we want to keep you with KD, but you just haven't really been reliable. Why don't we wait to see what happens at the end of the year? Let's see what the playoff run looks like. Let's see whatever. If you come through and you're doing this, we'll give you a contract. We'll extend your contract, whatever. We want you here. I'm sure that conversation and then some probably happened. But no, Mr. Asshole Kyrie Irving is like, hey, I'm not accepting that shit. Trade my ass. And he does it.
This is where you got to stop. Because
no, I'm not the only one saying this. This has been widely reported.
So what? It's because people get all emotional when
it's just a business, bro.
That's the point. It's a business, but people make it personal.
No, the point is it's a business.
No, hold on.
It's a business, and you live out your contract, and you do what you're supposed to do.
You gave Brooklyn's perspective, right? And it's reasonable. I don't disagree with that. But now, if I'm the player, I can't I can't rely on you. I can't wait the rest of the year for you to say, okay, yeah, I think you did enough and you've proven enough. I can't wait for that.
Players do that all the time. Why is Kyrie Irving any different?
He's in a unique situation based on his history.
I'm saying, why should he be any different and not live up to his contract obligations? He's mean? Here's a problem. He's putting
his contract's up this year.
Hold on, but think about what's happening here, Daym. So, first of all, what team is he? What team is even going to want him? Let's just say there are teams that are just like, look what happened with Kawhi Leonard, right? Kawhi Leonard went to Toronto with 1 year. They won the chip, and he fucking left anyway, right? So who's to say that any team that gets him just gave up their star player for Kyrie Irving or one of their star players so he can bounce in a year?
It's likely going to come with an extension. That's why.
No, it's likely going to come. Like, if they don't trade him to the team he wants to go to, so let's say they trade him to Orlando. Kyrie is out the next year. It doesn't matter what Orlando sends him. It's just total bullshit. Like, play your season. Ball the fuck out.
But a team wouldn't. It wouldn't make sense for a team to do that without an extension included.
What are you talking about, Daym?
A team that is to get Kyrie Irving in a trade, you're going to give up players and likely a first round pick.
Right.
No team would do that without a guarantee of Kyrie. So
what happened with Kawhi Leonard?
He didn't get traded.
Kawhi Leonard got traded from the Spurs to the Toronto Raptors. Right? He had a year left in his contract. After, and this almost similar thing happened with Anthony Davis, but we'll just stick with Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard went to Toronto, and there was no guarantee that he was going to stay or go. They didn't work out any of that negotiation. He just got traded. He went over there. They actually won a chip, and he left. So there is no guarantee. The only guarantee is that guarantee.
I'm saying a team in this position, in particular, dealing with Kyrie and his history, they would not give up all of this without an extension included in this deal. So if he's not agreeing to an extension with that team, then they're not trading for him.
Okay, then we're talking about two different things. So I would agree. No, listen to me. I would agree that Brooklyn is they have no choice. He doesn't agree. They have to trade him because then they lose him for nothing. Right? We totally on the same board with that. My issue with this whole thing is his tactics. It's the fact that he's even doing this to begin with. Well, yes, of course.
Because the business goes both ways.
No, but part of business, let me ask you this, Daym. Any business you would ever enter with anybody else, they have to be reliable in order for you to want to do that, right?
Yeah.
And part of it, if you have a worker working for you and you're about to, and they're under a contract, the idea would be, hey, you know what? Let's see what the hell you do this year. And then when it's time to renegotiate your contract, we're going to give you what you want because you've earned it. So why can't he do that? Players, Steph Curry did it. LeBron James has done it. Like, why can't Kyrie Irving do it? Dame Lillard does it all the time.
Those are very different situations. In when the point comes that Kyrie and Brooklyn don't agree on an extension, Kyrie only has one option, because I don't think anybody in his position is going to rely on the team at the end of the season saying, okay, yeah, we think you've proven yourself. You can't wait for that. You can't put your career on hold for that to happen. So
Yes, you can.
That you could, but that would not be a smart business move.
Yes, it would.
No, because he gives up all of his leverage doing that. He has leverage right now.
Daym, again, we're talking about two different things. I'm not talking about what. What you think is practical for Kyrie Irving to do. I'm talking about his character is garbage.
That's fine. It doesn't matter.
That's the conversation I'm having. You want to have this conversation? Well, yeah, Kyrie's, he's doing what
you're saying.
For
Kyrie,
he
shouldn't. He doesn't have a right to request a trade. It's a smart move on his part. It's as a businessman.
No, it's not a smart move.
No, it is.
Nobody else is saying it's a smart move.
So what? Because everybody's emotional.
No, it's not about emotions, Daym. It's about look, we're talking about a sport here. Yeah. We're talking about in any other facet of business, in any other business world, this wouldn't be acceptable. It wouldn't be acceptable.
It's acceptable when the team does it, but when the players take control, then it's an issue.
You tell me that because teams have done things that haven't been exactly beneficial to certain players, that this is okay?
We expect players to hold up to their contract, but we don't expect teams to hold up to the contract. That's not right.
So what are you talking about? Trades? What are you talking about? Waiving them?
Yeah, everything.
What exactly are you talking about where teams aren't holding up? When do teams typically just tell players, hey, you're going to play here for 5 years, you signed to $100-something million, and tomorrow you're not? Like, when does that happen? Am I missing something?
What? Yeah. You've never heard of like a player getting cut?
Yeah.
Traded? Like, if he
when does that happen at Kyrie's status? You tell me, give me one example where someone on Kyrie's status, yeah, you're talking about a bench player who hasn't played in 20 games and averages a point and a half. Yeah, okay, sure.
My point is,
when does that happen to the Kyrie Irvings?
Everyone gets defensive of the team because a player should abide to their contract, but teams are not held to the same standard. It's a simple statement. And it's a fact.
I disagree with you on that. And
it's a fact.
That is not a fact. That is not a fact.
I said it is, so it is.
I get what you're doing there, but no, it's not. I get what you're doing there, but no way. And I'll tell you this, KD, you're duped again, bro. Like, again, once again.
If I was KD, I'd be pissed the fuck off.
And the likelihood is KD is going to leave Brooklyn too.
How?
Maybe KD is on Kyrie's side. Maybe KD expected Brooklyn to sign him or whatever, and is going to fault Brooklyn. I don't know. KD.
So on Monday, KD's going to request a trade. That's his only way out.
Would you be surprised? You would?
I would.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be delighted, but I would not be surprised.
You destroy the second best team in the East in a day.
Because of what? That's what I'm talking about. So if you were a Brooklyn Net fan, you bought season tickets.
I'm furious.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. You're like, oh, you're emotional. Like, this is an emotional thing. Like, this is.
Yeah, but I'm looking at.
You cry every time the Knicks lose. Like, what are we talking about here?
How can you talk? Listen. Watch how you talk about the Knicks. First of all,
I've heard you whimper. bro.
Watch how you talk about the Knicks.
I'm not talking about the Knicks, but I've heard you, and you're getting quite emotional about them.
You remember back in episode 1 when it happened to be like game 1 of the NBA season.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, and I think they lost the first game, but they played a hell of a game. I don't remember against who. Maybe Golden State. I don't remember who.
I heard you whimpering though several times.
And you were like, "Oh, fucking Knicks. Let's check back in 10 games. Look at them now. Look at them now. Look at them now.
They're playing good, but what's going to happen? What's going to happen? They're not winning anything.
It's the process, man. No, we're not going to win the chip this year. But
all right.
you get deeper. You got to attract. You got to be able to attract people to the team. So this is what we're working on. We need
maybe Kyrie will go to the Knicks.
Fuck Kyrie. We got our point guard already. We need KD.
Oh, that's where you're angling at.
I'm just saying, he's already there. He won't have to move.
Uh, Look, I don't mean this in any way, but just to get under your skin, fuck the Knicks. All right. And fuck their fans too.
At least I have a team.
Oh,
At least I
I'm
have a team.
sorry.
At least I'm not a bandwagoner.
I am a bandwagoner and I'm proud of it.
That's not
I,
something
I
to be proud of.
I follow the teams that I like. I don't follow them because of the city. That's silly to me. It's an outdated concept. That's tribalism.
That's an out.
I'm the modern man. I'm the cock of the walk. Don't forget that.
There's nothing modern about you, bro.
What?
You are not a modern man.
I'm a modern man. I'm a man of the times.
All right, let's start talking about hip hop then, since you're so
no.
modern.
We gotta move on. There's another basketball topic.
Yeah, I thought so.
And I gotta say this: if you thought that the last segment is gonna drive Dame crazy, just wait. So,
really?
Oh yeah, you don't even know what's fucking coming to you. So, oh man.
Maybe I don't know what the next segment is then. What are you talking about?
So, okay, we're gonna go. So, does the NBA have an officiating problem? All right, so there's a lot of evidence to this, but let me just break some things down. So, the defending champions, the Golden State Warriors, they have literally been last in the league on free throw attempts. Now, you can say they're a ball moving team, they're not as aggressive as some of the teams, but the idea that the best offensive team in the league is last in free throw shooting, there's a problem in the champ, and they're the champs. So of course now we fast forward a little bit, or rewind a little bit, depending on your perspective, to last week with LeBron James, the Lakers playing the Celtics. LeBron had that layup. Jason Tatum clearly fouled him, and LeBron fell on the floor and did his LeBron baby whine, and it's the most silliest fucking thing I think I've ever seen. I've never seen a grown man that
6'9",
large,
man, pouting in the paint is horrible.
It was so I wish I could have a whole segment just on that, but I'm just gonna move on. So now on Thursday, the Lakers, same Laker team with the same LeBron James person who was crying like a baby right before he's about to break the all-time scoring record. They played the Indiana Pacers and they beat the Pacers 112-111. All right. And here's the crazy part. They were 16-0. There was a 16-0 free throw shooting discrepancy in the fourth quarter. Advantage Lakers. Right? The Pacers got called for 21 fouls, and the Lakers were only called for 10 fouls. In total, the Lakers attempted 31 free throws in the game, and the Pacers attempted 6. Rick Carlisle, the coach of the Pacers, said, "I've never seen a 16-0 free throw discrepancy in the fourth quarter of an NBA game ever. We were disappointed. The foul discrepancy and the free throw discrepancy is something I've never witnessed in 38 years in this league. Hopefully something like this is an outlier." Here's my solution to this. Do you want to comment on what I just said before I give you what my solution for the NBA is?
No, I'm gonna reserve my comment.
You want to reserve your comment? Okay, so actually, please give me a comment about what I just told you, because you're not going to comment on this stuff until what I'm going to say is probably going to bother you. So just,
I mean, yeah, the clearly that's a lopsided game. Something had to be going on there. That's not something that would normally happen.
And would you agree that there's issues with the league?
With the league?
With foul calling in general. And not foul calling, officiating.
Yes.
Okay. One other point I forgot to mention. LeBron, with his whining, rolling on the floor, whatever, he traveled on that play. So even if they would have went back and reviewed it, even though you can't, according to the NBA rule, you can't review a non-call.
Right.
He traveled. He took 3 steps into the layup, and then Tatum fouled him. So if we were really playing it by the rules, then there is no foul to call. But anyway, so here's my solution, Dame. Are you ready for this?
I don't know.
So I don't know. Maybe you'll agree. So this is my solution. So the first thing the NBA needs to do is they need to add another official to the court, but not officially on the court. This referee needs to be a replay referee. He's sitting on the sidelines with a monitor and a computer and all the tech in the world that has everything queued up and ready to go. Any missed call from the referees on the floor gets put into a database in that computer, or he clocks it or whatever and verifies it. Then at the end of each quarter, when everybody goes to run to the bathroom real quick, and people at home, stop paying attention and they're watching the commercials, the missed calls, the players get to shoot the free throws for the missed calls. The players that committed the fouls aren't called, so we don't punish them for that. For the fourth quarter, they do it for every quarter except for the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter, there'll be a 5-minute warning. So once the dead ball happens within the 5 minutes, then the players will get to shoot whatever free throws or whatever fouls were missed. So that way it doesn't impact a runoff shot or a game-winning shot or whatever. Coaches now, here's another thing, coaches can now challenge 2 calls per game, including non-calls, and they can do it one in the first half and one time in the second half. Hold on, I'm almost done. The referee should not be fined. According to Anthony Davis, thinks that they should be fined. A lot of people think they should be fined. They should not be fined, but there should be statistics that are released every year, or maybe 2 or 3 times a year, that shows the accuracy of each referee. That should be a database that everyone should know and understand. So that way, that's how they choose who gets put in the playoffs. And then flopping would result in a technical foul. Those are my changes that I would love to see in the NBA. Of course, it would never happen, but I know best, and that's a fact. Cock of the walk, bro. What do you think?
Well, as someone who doesn't watch football, I don't know how you managed to do this, but you pretty much mirrored what happens in football. Almost.
So are you sort of on my
I don't know
thinking with this?
I don't know about the free throws at the end of the quarter.
I thought you would have I thought your head would have fell off with that one.
It's a unique idea. I've never heard it before. I don't know if I'm going that far. I do think the refs need to be penalized in some way. Everything else you said, aside from that, pretty much happens in the NFL. There are referees for reviews. They even have off-site. There's a room full of people that handle this. So when there's a review on the field, they're in discussion with people in New York, wherever the game is. There's a room of people in New York that are watching this, and then they confer while the game is stopped in the review, and they make the determination. They also do track the referees' calls or missed calls, and when we get into the playoffs, the most accurate referees get those assignments. So
okay, yeah. So the free throw thing. So okay, I'm glad you agree with me on it. But just let me touch on the free throw thing. So I know a lot of people. The comment is you can't call every foul; it would destroy the flow of the game. So in that sense, I understand it. But the problem is, there's too much subjectivity behind whether this foul gets called or that, or he's a superstar, he's not. Oh, you know what, that guy doesn't really play defense, but the time he does play defense, we're just going to call a foul. So instead of killing the flow of the game and calling every little thing, when they shoot their free throws in the break of the quarter, when the broadcast comes back, they'll say, hey, so-and-so team gained 5 points, and other team, only shot 3 free throws or whatever. and now the score is this because of whatever. And you don't get to see, you don't have to sit there and wait. You just get the results or whatever, and that's it. The players got to shoot their free throws, and we move on. Then in the fourth quarter, you don't want to really interrupt the game or whatever. So 5 minutes in, that means the last 6 minutes of the game or whatever, it's uninterrupted. And yeah, maybe they can get away with some fouls there, but at that point, you really wouldn't want to disrupt the game. But all the other fouls throughout the other game, there should be consequences to it. If Damian Lillard is pulling up 4-3, and we have a rule in the NBA where you can't get in his landing space, and I see that happening to a lot of 3-point shooters, which could be fucked up, dangerous for their ankles. Why is it that they can just pick and choose when they want to call that? I don't think that's right.
Well, I think they're given certain latitudes by the league, so I think maybe that needs to be addressed. I'd have to think about this whole free throws at the end of the quarter thing. I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's just very different. I don't know. And then I think the biggest issue is then how do you, because consistency has to be a thing. So how do you address that with the fourth quarter? The 5-minute stop is cool, but then what about the last 5 minutes?
It's just like it is now.
In the NFL,
here's the reason why I would say it has to be the way it is now. Because could you imagine that would totally end game-winning shots? Because even after the game-winning shot, now, okay, well, you owe this team 4 free throws, and you owe that team 6 free throws.
Yeah, no. I think, I agree with you. It'd be horrible to do it at the end of the fourth quarter.
Right. There's no way,
You can't do that. But, like in the NFL, once you get to the last 2 minutes, everything is reviewable.
Right. Which I think the NBA should do that on its own. Like I don't even think that's really implementing anything crazy.
That's gonna extend the game. That's gonna extend the length of a game a bit. Mm-hmm. But so every call, maybe every play, every score is reviewable or whatever, or every play is reviewable, and then that is gonna result in stopping a game to review it, and then potentially sending somebody to shoot free throws. But I think things like that maybe.
But the end of the game always is very stop and go most of the time, right?
It's foul. If it's a close game, you're fouling, so you go from free throw line to free throw line. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there
might be on to something, man.
Yeah, man. Listen, if we ever blow up and Adam Silver, you see this, give me credit, man. I came up with an original idea.
Interesting.
I don't know
why you thought like I was gonna like lose my shit over that.
I don't know. I thought you would have just been like, Julian, that changes the dynamic of the game. There would be no way that could ever be implemented. That would be blasphemy. Like I thought that's where you were gonna go with it.
I kind of feel that way a little bit, but I mean the game has changed so much over the years. Commercial break or end of the quarter, like you said.
That also would alleviate a lot of the bullshit with the Draymond Greens and the Pat Beverleys and players getting technical fouls and yelling at the referees because they know, okay, the referee didn't, but it's going to get reviewed, and at the end of the quarter, I get my free throws.
So then, what's the purpose of the challenges then? Coaching challenges.
The purpose of the coaching challenges that only addresses fouls. So like coaching challenges, like let's say
toes on the line.
Toes on the line, shooting after the shot clock, which is, whether was that a goaltend, whatever it is. So
I think you're not far off. I think there's some fine tuning that needs to be done there, but overall, I think that's a pretty good idea.
You are so unpredictable, but awesome.
I like it like that.
There's shit sometimes where I'm like, Dame's gonna be totally on board with me. We're gonna be like that, and then he's like, yeah, cops can fuck around. It's all good, and I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah, man.
It's like, yeah, everybody has sex, it's good as long as it didn't fuck up anybody. So sometimes I'm just like, wow, what the hell? Who am I talking to? And then other times, I'm just like today. I thought you were gonna really lose it, but no, actually, it's good. So anyway, what do we got?
Music and movie recommendations.
Bam, let's do it.
Um, haven't had a chance to check it out yet. Um, but Killer Priest dropped today.
I haven't heard that name in so long.
Right?
Right.
Killer Priest, Ragnarok Remix
All
is
right.
the name of the album. I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Hmm. All right. Anything
You know,
else?
anything Wu-Tang, I'm there. So
Yeah.
no, man, this time of year, it's just I probably won't have one the rest of the month, honestly. This time of year, it's real slim pickings.
Well, I got some recommendations. So the first one is going to be a documentary, and it goes in perfect with what we were just talking about. So it's called Untold Operation Flagrant Foul. And that's the story of Tim Donaghy, the
Oh yeah.
NBA official that was busted for tampering and cheating and he was a gambler and all of this stuff. So it was a real interesting documentary. Obviously, he's actually a part of it, so he's taking interviews and talking about it, and it's his story, even on how he began, his love for basketball and being in the NBA, and how he kind of got caught up in
Yeah.
this thing. Now, obviously, the documentary paints him in a somewhat in a lighter picture than probably what most people would, see him, but no escaping it. He was a pretty shitty person for what he did. And it's something that the NBA and a lot of people don't talk about ever because it's such of a bad thing. So when I think about what's been happening in the league for the last few years, I'm wondering if we have a few Tim Donaghys running around the league today.
And he was really popular. Like he was a real popular referee, which is
Yeah.
kind of strange to say. But
Yeah. So that's the first documentary. Check it out. It's pretty good. It's on Netflix. So most
I
people should be
I
able to access that.
I started it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you should finish it. Basketball head. I think you'll like it. It's pretty good. So the next one is a documentary that came out a couple of years ago. It's called Three Identical Strangers. You ever heard of this?
No.
So the basic premise of this true story, it's three twins that were separated at birth, didn't know of each other's existence.
Wait, 3 sets of twins?
Three
Triplets.
Triplets.
Okay, you threw me off the twins.
Yeah, three
Triplets.
twins separated at birth. Right? Three
Triplets.
Triplets separated at birth, right? Jeez, Daym. All right. So triplets separated at birth.
There you go.
And they weren't aware of each other's existence until two of them bumped into each other in school, and then later on found out that they had another one. It's that whole story. And it doesn't even stop there, because how their relationship turned out and some of the wild shit that happened later on is crazy. That's on Hulu. Check it out. It's called Three Identical Strangers.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Damn. It's kind of like that accidental movie we watched.
Well,
the series with the twin sisters. Never mind.
Oh,
the one we watched in my error.
Right.
Anyway, it kind of made me think it was related but unrelated. There's these two baseball players that have the same first and last name. They're the same height. They both redhead. They play the same position in baseball.
I've seen a picture.
Everything's the same. They look the same, but they're not related. It's the wildest shit.
Yeah,
how does stuff like that happen?
I don't know.
I'm gonna check out that triplets. That shit sounds.
So yeah, it's his name is, yeah, that's right. So Will Ferrell also has a guy who looks just like him. It's Chad Smith. He was a drummer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So they actually look almost like identical. Like it's pretty crazy. So you see like they've gotten on shows before and have like a drum off and stuff, and it's pretty funny. But yeah, they look alike. They dress, they'll dress the same or whatever. So yeah.
It's interesting.
But
Doppelgangers. I
yeah,
got one.
doppelganger. You got one?
Yeah. This guy caused me some havoc too.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Apparently this guy, the only difference is well, this is going back to my clubbing days, like when I was early 20s. Look like me, but his eyebrow was pierced. That's the only way you could tell us apart.
Hmm.
I've met people after he's met them and they thought he was me. I've been at home sitting on the couch next to my girlfriend, and her sister calls and says, I'm in the club all up on some girl.
And that's your story. You're sticking to it.
No, this happened. This happened. I got another one, but I'll save that off camera.
All right.
Crazy shit, man. Doppelgangers.
Doppelgangers, they're motherfuckers. Anyway.
If you see this, fuck you.
All right, I like that energy.
Yeah.
So Daym,
yeah, man.
What's the quote today? I think it's time for quote of the Daym. What you got, bro?
Well, I don't know who needs to hear this, but please try to remember that what they believe, as well as what they do and cause you to endure, does not testify to your inferiority, but to their inhumanity. Hope
Another
that doesn't
good
go
one.
over your head.
Another good one.
James Baldwin. Fitting.
Just talking about him. Very fitting. So with that, I think we've come to the end, man.
Yeah, man. Episode 16.
16
in the books.
In the books. And as we say all the time, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, click on that bell icon, and thank you for your support.
Peace.
Peace.